Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, guys, I want to go over the last couple of Toronto Maple Leaf games and some news and notes from them. It was reported early yesterday, mid-afternoon or so, that Peter Mrazek is not 100% and that the Toronto Maple Leafs had called up Joseph Woll from the American Hockey League. And I mean, that's great for Joseph Woll. He's a young goalie prospect, but at the same time, I really want to know what the Leafs have in Peter Mrazek, because over the last two seasons, he hasn't played very many games, but when he is healthy and in the net, he's been absolutely spectacular. And I never ask Peter to rush back, but at the same time, Jack Campbell's now played in 36 out of the last 44 Toronto Maple Leaf games, going back to March 20th of last season. And he's been absolutely remarkable in all of the games that he's played, and I'd never say anything bad about Jack Campbell, but for a guy whose career high in games played in a single season is only 31, he's on pace to blow right past that number. And then if you account all the games that he's going to need to play in the playoffs this year, because the Maple Leafs are going on a long run, and we all know that, it is a legitimate concern. Hey, but enough of that. Let's move on to the Toronto Maple Leafs' absolute dominance of the Boston Bruins Saturday night. If you're looking at the overall numbers from this game, the Boston Bruins controlled the majority of the shot attempts, the actual shots, and the Leafs led the scoring chances 25-21. And you may be looking at that and saying to yourself, Steven, how is that exactly dominating the Boston Bruins? Well, after two periods, the Toronto Maple Leafs led 3-1. And about 3 minutes into the third period, they scored again to make it 4-1. And the stats after two periods were pretty lopsided for the Leafs. They led the scoring chance department 20-8 at 5-on-5. They led the actual shots 20-18, and the shot attempts after two periods were tied at 30. The Boston Bruins directed the puck towards the net a lot, and that's usually a good thing, but if you're looking at those scoring chances and seeing that the Leafs led 20-8 after two periods, they did a very good job at limiting them, and then by the time the Bruins were battling back into the game, it was already 4-1, and Jack Campbell was in there just absolutely shutting them down. Overall, I thought that the Leafs played very well in the first two periods of this game, and Tavares scored to make it 4-1 3 minutes into the third, and you can view the lopsided totals in that period in favor of the Bruins as the Leafs maybe letting their foot up off the gas a little bit. Maybe you can see a bit of it as score effects, probably a combination of both, but either way, you don't want to give a team like the Bruins more opportunities than you need. I would like to see them play a little bit of a tighter game in that final period, but overall, there's a lot more positives to take away from this than negatives, and there's a lot that you can build upon off a game like this. I want to touch on the game against the Lightning on Thursday really quickly, and then I want to highlight a lot of individual players. If you remember the first period from this game, it was very chippy and very boring to watch. It looked like a game that was earmarked to finish either 2-1 or 1-0. But then the second period starts and the Maple Leafs are all over the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they led that period in the shot attempts, the actual shots, the scoring chances, and the high danger shot attempts. But then the third period starts and both teams are pretty even until there's about 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, and the top Maple Leaf players decide that they are taking over. And that's really been the theme of this 5-game win streak. Their best players have been their best players with an exclamation point. And that's led to some very silly conversations of some people saying that the Maple Leafs don't have any depth. Like Arjun pointed out here, yes, the last 13 Maple Leaf goals have been from the Big Four. But that doesn't mean that they don't have any depth scoring, right? In the first bit of the season, the depth guys were the only ones scoring the goals. Guys like Michael Bunting, players like Jason Spezza. And if you want to go back to the beginning of this 5-game win streak, it was David Kampf who scored the game-tying goal to even send that game to overtime in the first place. There's been 291 forwards to play at least 100 minutes at 5-on-5 so far this season, and the Maple Leafs' depth line that would provide scoring, the fourth line of Nick Ritchie, Jason Spezza, and Wayne Simmons, rank 9th, 15th, and 28th in terms of scoring chances for per 60. If you want to be worried about the Maple Leafs' depth scoring, go ahead, but I'm going to choose to look at their top-end guys who are also at the top of this list and have been, who were ice cold previously and now are absolutely on fire, and believe that those depth guys will break out just the same eventually. And just really quickly, I want to touch on the back and forth discourse between Maple Leaf fans and Mitch Marner that's been going on for, I guess, the last 2 years now. Some people are just going to hate for the sake of hating. They won't actually bring up any relevant information, and when you do, they'll just move the goalposts, and those people aren't worth talking to. And then there are other people who will bring up relevant information to justify what they are saying, and they'll point to specific instances. And maybe what they're pointing to is a little bit skewed to how they're feeling at the time, but you can rationalize with this person at least a little bit. And those people are fine. I can get along with those people. And then there are people who just want to be positive for the sake of being positive. And I don't fully understand you, but I can appreciate you. Trust me. But in Sergei's point here, because he's doing his job, it's very raw, but it's to the point. And yeah, that's why they say winning solves all, right? And another one from Berzin_goal here. I don't care if he never scores. I really like Andre Kasha. And if you want to take a look at some with and without stats, Andre Kasha has been awesome for them defensively at 5-on-5, but also on their penalty kill. And if you're looking at the sample here, he's played 13 out of the 61 minutes that the Maple Leafs have been shorthanded. So he's not necessarily a full-time penalty killer, but it was noted that he is now working with the penalty kill. And I mean, yeah, he should, judging by just how dead this heat map is here. But it's really been a full effort from that trio of Engvall, Kampf, and Kasha, who rank 9th in the NHL in terms of expected goals against per 60 out of lines that have spent at least 50 minutes together. Out of forwards who have played at least 100 minutes in the NHL at 5-on-5 so far this year, that trio ranks 5th, 9th, and 15th in terms of defensive zone faceoffs per 60 minutes. And if you watch the games, you know that that line starts a lot of the shifts in their own zone, but like we pointed out a couple of videos ago, more often than not, they win the puck back and they take it to the other team's net. Look for it on Monday night against the Kings. It's a lot of fun to see them do it. I didn't realize that I was going to be talking about Kerfoot in this video, but last night against the Bruins, specifically when matched up against Pastrnak, Marchand, and Bergeron, he controlled the majority of the shot attempts, the actual shots, the expected goals, and he split on the scoring chances and the real goals. That's a huge win if you're able to get that from Kerfoot. I went to this part of the game report from naturalstattrick.com to look up how Kasha fared against individual Bruins players last night, and he was mainly matched up against their second line of Taylor Hall, Charlie Coyle, and Craig Smith, and again, just absolutely dominated them. Controlled the majority of the shot attempts, the actual shots, the scoring chances, and the expected goals. I'm adding this part in while I'm editing the video, but I wanted to make note that I noticed that Riley and Liljegren had played 53 seconds together in that Tampa Bay Lightning game. And 53 seconds, maybe it was just a coincidence. But then against the Bruins last night, almost 2 minutes. And you have to wonder if maybe that's something that they're sort of working towards. And the numbers between Riley and Liljegren in those almost 2 minutes together against the Bruins aren't actually that bad. But in the meantime, Riley and Dermott were fairly effective, and Sandin and Liljegren continue to be one of the best third pairs in the entire NHL. Shifting gears from the Leafs to the Marlies, because I just wanted to check in and see how they were doing. Semyonov with 9 points in 9 games for them. I don't know if his offensive game translates from the AHL to the NHL, but he is a 200-foot center who you can play in your bottom six, and it's nice to know that the Maple Leafs have a player like that if they needed him at any point. And to be honest, he probably should get a look at some point, and definitely will, like I said, if there's an injury. Really, really cool to see Josh Ho-Sang with 6 goals in 8 games, and I encourage you to subscribe to the Toronto Marlies on YouTube here, and I'll leave their link in the description, because they always clip together like 4 or 5 minute highlight packs from their games, and if you go back and watch the goals that Ho-Sang has scored this year, he looks absolutely dominant down there. I want to point out Alex Galchenyuk, because when the Maple Leafs first acquired him, he played a handful of games for the Toronto Marlies and then was called up after playing well for them because the Maple Leafs had a need for a guy who could give them a little bit of offense on that left side in the top 6. 12 points in 26 games, not that bad. Even 4 and 6 in the playoffs. I had that one really bad giveaway. I just wonder what the Maple Leafs could have done with Alex Galchenyuk if they had more time. And I wonder if the team looks back on that situation and feels the same. Because if you're looking at Ho-Sang, I think he's in a similar situation to what Galchenyuk was in when the Maple Leafs first acquired him in terms of his career. And I just hope that they give him all the time that he needs. I hope that he lights the American Hockey League on absolute fire. I hope that he gets integrated into the system and develops a lot of positive habits, because I feel like he can be a real difference maker. And I'll leave a link to the article that my friend Nick did down in the description of this video, because I feel like you need to read it. Just get to know this guy a little bit better, because once you do, you're going to be rooting for him too. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Make sure to like the video if you did like it and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, 5-game win streak, man.